Okay, so I think we'll begin then. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the second webinar of our series. My name is Simon Locklin, and I'm one of the business development managers at Receptional, and I will be hosting the webinar this afternoon. Great to see that so many of you could join us again. So thank you if you did join the last one and you're joining again for this one, or if this is your first time, then really pleased that you could attend today. And I hope that you enjoy the content over the next 30 minutes or so. As before, we do want to keep it as interactive as possible. So please do ask any questions throughout the course of the webinar if they sort of come to mind. There is a questions bar on the right-hand side of your screen where you can just click on the drop down and obviously enter your question in there, and then we can have a little Q&A session at the end. So what we'll do is in that session, we'll obviously cover off as many of the questions as we can, and then we'll follow up with any that we don't get to cover. Okay, so now I'd like to introduce you to Receptional and to today's speaker. So if you haven't heard of us before, Receptional are a leading digital marketing agency who specialise in PPC, SEO, content marketing, paid social, that type of thing. So we've won various awards for our content marketing at places like the Drum Awards, the DXA, and more recently the Financial Services Forum as well. So it's great to sort of receive some recognition for the great work that we've achieved with our clients. So today we'll be hearing from Dave Clough, who's our head of content. Dave has worked in senior positions at a number of leading digital agencies. He has a strong background in SEO and content marketing, and he's recently also been a guest speaker at the Content Marketing Association. So he's got bags of experience that we can all learn from. So a quick look at what's coming up. Dave will be talking about intelligent content marketing, where we'll be covering quick and easy strategies to improve the performance of the old content, a look at plugging gaps in your content. So this is based around what your competitors are doing and looking for the opportunities around that. And then finally, how to create a successful content strategy as well. I think I mentioned it before on the last webinar that now is a really sort of good time to be looking at your marketing activity, content marketing, and all the other types. So that you're sort of reviewing it and being in as strong a position as possible when we come out of this sort of challenging situation that we find ourselves in. So I'll just hand you over to Dave now so he can take you through his slides.
Cool, thank you very much for that generous introduction, Simon. Just to check, is the presentation appearing on everyone's screen, Simon?
Yep, absolutely fine.
Excellent, great. Hi everyone, I'm Dave, content or head of content at Receptional. I've been working in search marketing for many years now, and the last few years have been specialising more in the financial space. And as a part of getting to understand this niche, this industry better, I have conducted quite a lot of research into the search behaviours of customers, to discover what they're searching for, what they're really interested in when they're searching online, as well as to try and understand who's winning and losing in this space, whose work is the best, and what lessons we can learn from those organisations. And off the back of this research, I've published an ebook which you can download from Receptional's website, and it's called UK Asset Managers, Google's Best and Worst Performers, and this is a report produced by analysing the biggest keywords in this space and then marking the performance of various businesses in this space to see who's performing the best for those keywords. And during this research, I discovered that there were 7.5 million searches for keywords related to asset management a year, and 90% of those searches were for non-brand keywords. Now, non-brand keywords are particularly important because these are your potential customers. These are the guys who don't necessarily know who they want to work with in this space, or they're not brand specific or brand loyal. They're up for grabs, essentially. I also discovered that the top 3 websites in this space capture about 45% of non-brand traffic of these potential customers. So if you want to understand a little bit more about how I derived these results and what you can learn from them, you can follow the URL at the bottom there to read that report. But a lot of the content for today's presentation has come off the back of these insights, and more recently, Receptional have conducted research into high net worth individuals. We conducted a survey, and And we learned that 89% of this demographic intend to use search engines during the research phase of their investing. And that's pretty much all of them, basically. So this is not, we can't overlook the importance of search engines when it comes to marketing in this space. But why do we do all this? Why is search engines so important? Well, ultimately, they're your potential customers. It's not just about attracting traffic for the sake of it. It's about converting them, turning them into leads. And that's what we're all about today. And so we're going to talk about how we're going to attract more website traffic. But we're also going to talk about how we can turn that traffic into potential customers as well. And I mean, that's particularly important now more than ever because there's a lot of volatility in this space in particular, because people are concerned about their finances, and rightly so. In fact, we've recorded a 900% variation in financial searches. You can see at the end of that graph there's a peak. I don't expect that graph will stay like that forever, but certainly at the moment there's a lot of people searching in this space. They're hungry for information and for advice. So before I continue with this presentation, we're just going to step out and do a little poll. I'm asking you, which of these companies do you think appears highest on Google when you search for the keyword asset management? Is it Legal & General, Invesco, Aviva? Is it BNY or is it M&G? I'm just going to pass over to Simon now to run the poll.
Thank you very much, Dave. Yeah, I've just run the poll now, so if you could all take a moment just to fill in what you think your answers would be. I can see that BNY seems to be leading the charge at the moment, but there's still some votes coming in at the moment. And then what I'll do is I'll collate the responses and share those with you. I'll just give it another few seconds just in case people are still deciding. Okay, it looks like the majority of people have now sort of given their feedback, so I will close that. And there we go, I'll share the results with you. So you should now be able to see that BNY there sort of leading with 36%, followed by Legal & General on 27%, and then Aviva and M&G at 18%, Invesco with 0. So there we go, back over to you, Dave.
Cool, thank you. Well, the question was a little bit of a red herring. I'm going to reveal the answers now. The answer is actually none of them. None of those websites appear on Google in the top 100 when you search for asset management. But it's not just those guys. In fact, there were so many businesses who don't appear in the top 100. I couldn't even list them all on a single slide. And some big brands in that list there, I'm sure you'll agree. And none of these guys appear in Google when you search for the keyword asset management. And that really surprised me. Why are these guys not appearing? What does that tell us? Well, first it begs the question, who does rank on Google for asset management? And the answer to this question is Investopedia, Wikipedia, the Bright Network, Balance, Investing Answers. Now, this is quite a surprising result in many ways because Wikipedia is a generic website. Bright Network's about careers, and the Balance is about personal finance. So it surprised me that in the top 10 there's no actual investment management companies in that list. So what's the key takeaway? What's the message from all this? What I'm saying is that actually search engines offer a huge opportunity. There's millions of people searching in this space, and all that traffic's going to Wikipedia. The reason why it's happening is because Google knows that people want information. These are those sites that perform well are information sites. Google knows that people want information. But there's no point just targeting the keyword asset management because you'll be up against Wikipedia and Investopedia, and your campaigns won't perform well for you. So what do we do? And the solution to all of this is we deploy intelligent content marketing strategies, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to present this in the form of 3 top tips as to how you can execute an intelligent content marketing strategy. And they're going to cover sort of on-page SEO through to fun, exciting content marketing campaigns. So my first top tip is getting the basics right for your website. And specifically, what I'm referring to here is putting your keywords in your page titles. So if you have a look at that mobile phone picture there, you can see that Starling Bank appear when you search for the keyword, what is compound interest? And they're content is labeled up. What is compound interest and how does it work? Starling Bank. The reason why they appear is because they've labeled up their content with page titles. And that's a great, really simple way of telling Google what your content's about. It would seem obvious to do that, but unfortunately, it doesn't entirely seem to be the case in this niche for all businesses. In fact, many, many big players are not doing this simple thing of optimizing their content. They're not putting their keywords in their page titles. So here we can see Investco, Schroders, and Morgan Stanley have not included any keywords whatsoever in their homepage titles. So even a very basic thing is not really being done. And I'm not trying to suggest that any of these guys aren't doing a particularly good job with SEO. It doesn't seem to me that any of them are engaged in it whatsoever. And to anybody who wants to take on this market, actually, it's a real opportunity because many people aren't doing this. So it's a real kind of low-hanging fruit, if you ask me. So getting the page titles right is the first thing you can do. But if you want to take on-page SEO a little bit further, you can invest in technical SEO. Now, that might sound like a mountain to climb, that might sound quite intimidating, but actually there's a lot of quick wins to be had in this space. It doesn't all have to be heavy lifting and heavy amounts of coding. Little things like doing a sitemap or updating your robots text can make a huge difference. As well as keyword usage, such as your page titles that I've mentioned, and fixing those 404 pages, those broken pages that accumulate over time. All of these things can add up and make a huge difference to your website's performance. And this is about getting the foundations right before we deliver full content marketing. We need to make sure the foundations are right. All these things are really important to us. We know that they work. This is a case study taken from our client Basware, where we manage all of their SEO. And off of the back of a technical audit and them implementing our recommendations, we saw a 395% growth in their traffic. Now that graph there is a weekly graph, so there's drops over the weekends, don't be alarmed. But you can see this sort of overnight step change in performance there off the back of an international setup and new sitemaps and a website structure based on some of our keyword research. So yeah, not to be overlooked, the importance of on-page SEO. So my second top tip is to target keywords with a strong user intent. Now this relates back to the previous tip and this idea that asset management isn't a great keyword to go after. So what is a good keyword to be going after in this space? Well, first, just a fun fact for you all. Google states that 15% of all searches made are unique. They're new and never been searched for before. I'm sure that this is a statistic that's quite easy to relate to these days with coronavirus. I don't think anyone was searching for this a few months ago. Now we all are. And unless you have a crystal ball, you can't anticipate, you can't predict all of these things. And now I'm going to introduce a concept called long tail. The data tells us that at least 70% of all searches conducted online are what we call long tail. And the phrase comes from the idea of keywords across the internet being like a massive dinosaur or a massive lizard. And at the front, you've got your head terms, and at the back, you've got this really long tail. And the long tail consists of everything else, like all the additional keywords. So at the front there, your top 100 will be things like Amazon, Google, the BBC. These are massive, massive millions of searches, these big keywords. But the more nuanced you get, the more specific the keyword. It forms this what we call long tail. But 70% is the majority. So the majority of search is tiny, small, nuanced keywords. And in your space, 70% equates to about 5 million searches. And that's really relevant to content marketing, because in the content marketing, we're interested in that long tail. That's the long tail that we focus on. But it actually is the majority of search. So it's not an insignificant portion by any means. So what I'm referring to specifically here for you guys is rather than just focusing on asset management, we're actually starting to go more deeply into the product and services and the locations that you guys offer. So for instance, wealth management companies in London is a great keyword because we're being specific about what the task is that we want a company and where they're based. With emerging market funds in London, it's the same thing, but we're being more specific with the product and again, specific with the location. Transfer of asset between spouses is great because the person's intent is super clear. You know exactly what they want to do. And discretionary fund management, again, is a specific product within that space. So what's great about these keywords is they're less competitive because you're not up against Wikipedia or Investopedia necessarily for these keywords. And if you rank well for them, you're going to derive a higher quality traffic because the intent's that much clearer. And as a result, it's more likely to convert and drive inquiries and leads for your business. And we know that this works as well because of our work with Liberis, who are a business loans company in this. So off the back of our advanced keyword research for them, we uncovered that people search for small business loans specific to their industry, such as hairdressers, pubs, actually bad credit as well. So what we did was create pages for each of these keywords, and this content performed particularly well and actually drove a 700% return on investment for this client, and saw us win 4 awards. Only 2 of them mentioned here, one of them with the Financial Services Forum Award just from last year, and one with the Drum as well, but actually this is campaign 1, in total 4 awards. So targeting keywords with strong user intent will drive significant returns. Don't worry about the keyword asset management. There's nothing to be had there, but focus on what makes your business special and unique. And that takes me to top tip number 3, which is how to nail your content strategy. And I'm going to take a quick breather at this point and hand back to Simon for a poll in which we're going to ask you, to what extent do you use keyword research to plan your content? Maybe none, which means you rely on intuition. Maybe some, you've dabbled in keyword research, or maybe some of you use this data exhaustively. That's what I'm curious to know. Over to you, Simon.
Yep, perfect. Thank you very much, Dave. I've now launched that poll, so you should see the options in front of you. I can see that some of you are already responding, so thank you for that. Just while we're running this poll as well, just a quick reminder about the questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen. Please do feel free to drop any questions in there if you do have any, and then we can pick them up at the end. Okay, perfect. So I think we're nearly there. Let's give it another few seconds for the last votes to come in. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for everyone who's submitted an answer. I'll now share the results with you. So you can see there we go, that 80% is sort of in the some or maybe region when it comes to sort of researching, around the keywords. None using exhaustively or data-led data. So you can see there that's quite interesting. So I'm just going to hide that now and then pass you back over to Dave.
Cool. Thank you, Simon. So it would be no surprise to you guys that I'm obviously a big fan of using data exhaustively when putting together content marketing strategies, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you now is how we execute content marketing for our clients and how we use data to fuel it. So we have a holistic approach to content marketing for our clients, and so we cover historic content, and that is where we look at their existing blogs to see if there's any quick wins to be had there. Then we look at the current landscape, which is where we compare our clients to the competition to see what the competition might be doing that's better. And finally, we develop future-proof content marketing strategies driven by customer insights and data. And we always make sure that content is optimized with strong calls to action. So we turn those visitors into leads for them. And so I'm going to delve into each of these concepts in a bit more detail for you now. And hopefully, there'll be some value in that for you, and you'll be able to see how you can implement some of these ideas within your own marketing strategies. So with a historic content optimization strategy, this is a quick and easy tactic to improve the performance of our content. And I think right now in the current climate, we could all do with a couple of quick wins. And I particularly like this strategy because it's really efficient. You've already done all the hard work, you've already produced the content, and now just with a little bit of optimization, we can turn that content into something that actually delivers significant value for your business if it isn't already. So the way we go about this for our clients is firstly, we discover content that isn't performing as well as it should be. Now, I'm going to cover that more in the next slide, but I'll park that for now. But once we've discovered this content, we do keyword research around the article to find out is the content aligned to the best keywords in that space. We then use those insights to re-optimize the page titles that I spoke about earlier, aligning the page title to what people are searching for in that space. And then we like to merge similar content. Now, that's really important, because if a website's been around for quite a long time, they may have written about the same topic 2 or 3 times. And that can cause us problems with this search engine marketing, because Google doesn't like it if there's multiple pages about the same topic. It either causes what we call duplicate content or cannibalized content. If you have multiple pieces that are very similar, Google doesn't know which is the best, and therefore it penalizes all of it potentially. So by merging it, we can do effectively a best of, and we see that can actually see things perform much better that way. We then look at the content to see whether or not it's got enough depth and insight, i.e. is this content a bit weak and a bit thin, or is it actually packed with really interesting information? And if it's not packed with interesting information, we make sure that it is. And finally, once we're happy that the content's up to standard, we then make sure that it's easy to find that content within the hierarchy of the website through internal linking. And the combination of these 5 areas generally sees content that's underperforming reach a click-through rate in the search results of about 10%. So that's effectively 10 times improvement on the traffic that content's currently getting. So we aim for about a click-through rate of 10%. So in order to find this content within your own website, this low-hanging fruit, you need look no further than your Search Console account. Now, all businesses should have access, all websites have access to this data. If you don't have access to your Search Console account, talk to your developers, they'll be able to set you up easily. And so the example there is a real example from a client, obviously I can't disclose, but they had an article that had as low as 51 clicks, yet it had 32,000 impressions a month. So it turned out this article was at the bottom of the first page of Google, and it only had a click-through rate of 0.16%. So by implementing our optimization strategies, we were able to drive the click-through rate up to around about the 10% mark, delivering over 3,000 clicks a month off the back of content that already existed. So yeah, if you can find content like that on your site, you can get some significant returns with some simple optimization techniques. However, sometimes the written word isn't quite enough. Sometimes a topic might be popular enough that it warrants going the extra mile, pushing the boat out a bit further. And so here's some great ways that you can do that. I'm a big fan of crowdsourced content and expert roundups. Both of those involve talking to experts about a particular topic and asking them to produce 100 words, 200 words on that topic for you. And that's great because it means you don't have to write anything, because they'll do all the work for you. It also gives that content a stamp of quality, because it's written by an expert, and then you credit them as writing that content, and they'll be happy to promote that content for you as well. So there's loads of advantages to engaging experts in your content production if you're not already. Sometimes an article isn't enough and it's worth going the extra mile to produce a how-to guide. Perhaps a downloadable PDF could be really effective. And if a topic warrants it, perhaps add some surveys, statistics to that piece. And if you're lucky, those stats might get picked up by the media, resulting in citations and links that help boost your organic performance. And on the bottom right there, we've got thought leadership. And it occurs to me that with what's going on in the world right now, there's a number of leaders and experts that working from home who haven't maybe got as much to do as they did before. And now would be a great chance to get them to put pen to paper and write down some of their expertise and produce thought leadership content for your blog. And finally, in the middle there, we've got video content, which I'm a very big fan of, and at Receptional we talk about a lot. Video content's great. It's a great way to boost existing content, because effectively you can keep the content as it is, but have someone talk to one-on-one to a video about the content, put that video at the top of the article, and it gives it a nice little boost. You can also transcribe that video into written text that saves you writing loads of content as well. Now, so YouTube offers a great opportunity, especially if we're doing content that's trying to engage and educate people, which is particularly relevant to the asset management niche. Our research tells us that YouTube is the place to go to learn new things. It is the second biggest search engine out there. So it's really a great opportunity for anyone in content marketing to better leverage video content right now. In fact, 92% of the internet internet users access YouTube every single month. It's an astonishing number. And on average, they watch about 27 minutes per day. And incidentally, if any of you guys are interested in any paid promotions, any paid social or paid activity, at the moment you can get about you can pay about a penny per view of your content that's hosted on YouTube, which is comparatively extremely low. It's really good value marketing at the moment. So if you want to talk to us about some of those paid strategies, obviously get in touch with us afterwards and we can help you out with that as well. But yes, YouTube is a really good platform for anyone in content marketing right now. Cool. So that was the first pillar of a well-rounded content strategy. And I'm going to introduce the next, which is content gap analysis. And this is simply where we would take our client's content and compare it to one of the competitors who they hate the most, who they really want to beat. And we see what content their competitor might have that they don't. And what I love about this strategy is the competitors have done all the hard work for you. They've done all the testing, they've done all the learning, and all you need to do is kind of take the best of and run that across your own site, and you can get all the benefits of that yourself. So it's a cheeky strategy, and if you're not doing it, you should consider it. So as I just mentioned, how it works is by comparing your content to that of a competitor. Having done this kind of work for a number of my clients, one comes to mind where I found 23 unique articles on a competitor's site, and the search volumes with the keywords associated with their content was staggeringly high as 121,000 searches a month. Now, in search engine marketing, we say that if you rank number one for a keyword, you're generally going to drive about 32% of clicks. Therefore, if you produce those 23 articles and they rank particularly well on Google, you have the ability to have driven 39,000 visitors to your site a month, and that's some pretty impressive numbers, and it really helps us kind of put together business cases that our clients need to generate these sorts of content strategies. But there's loads of potential there to drive significant traffic with the right content. And you need look no further than your competitors' sites in some cases, or the industry at large. So why look at just your competitors when they're some of the biggest publications in the space do this day in and day out anyway. So you can run the same strategy against any site really in your space. And our research has told us that these are some of the biggest publications that high net worth individuals are most interested in your space. And these publications have a joint readership of over 70 million. So yeah, we can do analysis on these sites to find content that you can possibly reproduce for your own sites as well. Cool. And so the third pillar of my well-rounded content strategy is to use customer insights to dictate what content you guys should be producing. And actually, this is a particularly smart thing to do because effectively that's a ready-made editorial calendar for you. Whenever someone searches for something online, that data is captured either by Google, through your Search Console account perhaps, or through tools like Answer the Public. And so we can actually capture all of that data and generate a ready-made editorial calendar that your customers will really care about, because we know that they're searching for answers to these questions. So by default, you're going to have an audience. And what's more, we know that people really care about what they read online. A recent poll we conducted told us that 72% of high net worth individuals will base decisions on stuff they've read online. And that's a significant portion. So people are out there looking for information, and they take this information very, very seriously. Now, I'm aware that you can't give specific advice over what products and services people should invest in and buy, but I've got a few ideas for some content that you could produce. And in later slides, I'll explain to you how to turn that content into potential leads. So firstly, an article you could produce might be how to invest in a company, and that has a total search volume of 460 searches a month for that keyword. However, when you produce an article like that, it's not just that keyword that you're producing that article for. If you remember this idea of long tail keywords, like that people search for one topic in tens or hundreds of different ways. We have to look at the combined searches for the entire topic, not just the individual keyword. So when I look at all the keywords that relate to this topic, there's actually 36,000 searches a year for people looking for answers to that question. And so it's a really, really massive topic, and therefore worth investing in producing good content around that topic. And another idea for content might be compound interest. It's a hugely important topic in this space. And it's not just about that one keyword, what is compound interest, it's about all the others, all these other long tail variations of the same keyword that matter to us. And the total search volume of this subject comes up to over 50,000 searches a year. So why do this? Why answer people's questions? I'm not suggesting you give away your secret sauce, your trade secrets. But what you can do is firstly guarantee that your content has an audience. You can use that data to inform those decisions, to know that what should I write about first using those keyword search volume numbers. But what you get to do really is showcase your expertise. You get to show that you are the expert in this space by answering those questions better than anybody else has, and being more helpful than other people are in this space. And when you do that, by default, you are promoting either a product or your own services. But what's more important is that at the end of that content, you introduce a call to action. You tell someone what to do, whether that's inquire, book, call, whatever that is. In fact, call to actions are so important and so easily overlooked that I wanted to introduce an extra slide on it just to make sure that it was well covered. Actually, this topic really needs a whole presentation to itself, but for now, I've got 3 easy ways to make sure that your calls to action stand out within your content. So the first thing is making sure that any call to action is easy to find, whether that's a telephone number at the top of the page, or maybe a form on the sidebar, or a block of bold text at the bottom of the content. You need to make sure it's really easy to see that call to action. And you need to make it really clear what they are to do, whether it's a phone call or book today or register, whatever it is, make it really clear what the reader needs to do next, and then incentivize them somehow. Tell them what they'll get, whether it's telling them that they'll get a phone call back, or they'll get an email, or they'll get a sign-up code, or whatever that is. Make it really clear what they're to do. And also try and introduce a sense of urgency as well. Just by putting today, now, or limited availability can help increase calls to action. And calls to actions are so important, because we know through our work with our existing clients how much of an impact they can have on the number of inquiries people get. So this is one of our clients called Kiddiekaroo. Now, they're not in the finance space, but the principles are the same. By optimizing their mobile site for conversions, we drove an extra 467% increase in the number of online inquiries received. So, I mean, there aren't many websites that can actually drive that amount of extra traffic. So if you really want to drive your leads, make sure that your site is conversion optimized as well. So that was a lot of information. I hope you guys managed to keep up with most of that. But I'm just going to quickly recap on what I've looked at today. So firstly, it's about getting the basics right. So remember, that's basically just make sure your page titles are optimized. It's the biggest, quickest win most businesses can have in this space. The second thing was making sure that your keywords have a strong user intent. And that could be as simple as including your location, such as London, and being very specific about the products and services that you offer within your page titles. And the third thing is nailing a content marketing strategy in order to capture that 70% of long tail traffic as well. But in summary, I hope I've given you guys a sense that this kind of marketing is worthwhile. It's worth doing. There's lots to be gained here, but it's got to be done right as well. It's not easy to do, but if the right insight, the right expertise, it can be executed brilliantly. And it comes as no surprise that we can help you with your content marketing strategies here at Receptional. You know, our content strategies will always be research-led, data-driven, SEO-friendly, PR-enabled, customer-focused, and conversion optimized. So obviously get in touch if you need a helping hand in any way. I hope that was interesting and of value to you guys. And I'm going to pass back to Simon, who may ask 1 or 2 questions.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate the time you spent obviously putting that together and sharing that with us today as well. So yeah, so just before we head over to the Q&A session, is just a quick reminder of the upcoming webinars we've got over the next 2 Wednesdays in April. Next week's one will be the LinkedIn Advertising Masterclass, so please do register for that one if you haven't already. Also, like before as well, if anyone would like a copy of the slide deck that you've seen today, then just drop me an email and let me know, and then I'll get that over to you when I can. And finally, we'll also be following up with a survey as well. So it would be grateful if you could just spend a couple of minutes just giving us a bit of feedback. That would be great. Yeah, then just over to the questions then. So thank you for the guys that have submitted the questions today then. So Dave, the first one I have is, with keywords, do you need to put plurals? For example, wealth management companies or company, as this can lead to a very long list of keywords.
You don't know. Google is smart enough to join the dots between those sorts of searches. In fact, there are some experts in this space that say you don't need to lean on keywords as in that kind of exact match format whatsoever, because they believe in this, that Google is light years ahead in terms of understanding the semantics of keywords. I don't know how confident I am in that, but I certainly know that you don't need to obsess over those sorts of nuances. Those things are covered by default.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dave. Another one I've got here around audio, which I think is quite interesting as well. So have you seen much growth in audio searches within the financial services market, or is it too complex a topic? And also, is there any tips of where to start with this?
Well, I'm a bit of a voice search skeptic myself. I think that, I mean, I have an Alexa, right, and I talk to Alexa all the time. In that sense, it's brilliant. But for Googling, I haven't really gotten into the habit of myself. And there is evidence to suggest it's growing, especially in younger generations. In terms of optimizing for it, it's one of those things where you can optimize for voice search by default by following exactly what I've talked about in today's presentation. That long tail, that 70%, is actually, it becomes much bigger when you start to factor in voice search, because once you start speaking, you enter into a whole world of other variations of keywords and the way that people phrase things. So you can't optimize for that. You simply couldn't do that. But by creating content aligned to the data that we can provide, you are doing that by default. So you don't need to worry about voice search. Just use the information that's out there, and that will kind of happen automatically. You do want to make sure that your sites are mobile optimized, because anybody who's searching for voice is doing so on their phones. And so by making sure your website is mobile friendly and super lightning fast on mobile, that's another great way you can optimize for that audience of people.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Dave. Another one we've had in is, can you recommend any keyword research tools?
Yes. I mentioned Search Console within the talk there. It is my go-to. It's a brilliant platform. It's free and contains probably the best data, because the data within Search Console is yours. It's your data. It's not estimations. They're actual numbers. So yeah, brilliant. Search Console is number one. But aside from that, there's SEMrush. Is my preferred SEO platform out there, and they do free trials. But it's quite a steep learning curve to that platform. So. Oh, and obviously, as an agency, we have a full access to that account as well. So if you wanted to go into that kind of level of depth with this, I'd recommend dropping us a line and we'll help you do that.
Brilliant, thank you. Another one here, how much content should we be releasing?
Content, yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I'm not a fan of content for content's sake. The main thing here is quality. If you have the infrastructure and the team who can churn out 10 articles a day, and those articles are excellent, then so far that's fine, because the quality's still there. But if you're compromising quality to sort of produce quantity, then you're going too fast. So really, it's about maintaining the quality. As long as the quality is there, there isn't really a strict guide to that. Other than why pace yourself too quickly? Why release 10 articles a day and then have nothing next week to talk about? I would try stagger it out to make sure that every single piece of content is valuable and has a marketing plan to amplify that particular piece of content. And if you can't promote a piece of content, don't publish it, because what's the point? No one will see it. So making sure that your publishing calendar aligns to your promotional calendar would be the priority there as well.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Dave. Looks like we've got one more question that's just come in as well. So in starting with vlogs, what's the key length for website socials?
is a good question. I'm probably not the best person to answer that. I know our next talk's being presented by Lee, who is our paid social specialist, who let's make sure that he gets to answer this question as well. In my opinion, so this is about the length for a video. I think people generally say that people have a short attention span. It depends how engaging the topic is, and it varies. Again, it's the same thing as how long should an article be. As long as it's not content for content's sake, and you're not filling up a standardized 10 minutes because you have to, it doesn't really matter. I think if the topic warrants length and depth, then that's what it warrants.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you very much, Dave. And also thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. Hope you found it useful. Like I mentioned, if you do want a copy of the slides, please let me know and we'll send around a short survey after. We'd be very keen to hear your feedback on today's webinar. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next one as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Cheers.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Take care. Bye.